I'm a fucking sheep and I follow and do what I'm told like a good boy.
What was the event that motivated you to walk into the recruiter's office and enlist? I was like, kill, kill, kill! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Shift Fire, the exploration and appreciation of all things military culture.
And you, yes, you are tuned into an episode of Interrogating Cam and Izzy, a series where we answer your questions. We're gonna get the chance to answer them honestly, truthfully, and with no deception at all.
And let's get to it. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's World War III. I mean, depends on how you define World War III. Like conventional World War III, kind of like how like World War I and II were, man. Like everybody gets dragged into it. I'd hate to just stay on the side.
Yeah, man, I wouldn't be able to do that either. Like, I would go right back through RASP because I know that those dudes are gonna be doing hella damage.
Yeah, I'd want to try to get back into group somehow,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I'd go back through training, like if there was a way to do like an abbreviated version of the Q course or something like that. I'd do that.
If we would get attacked at home, there was like, no one could stop me from re-enlisting.
Yeah.
But if it's like just like foreign involvement and stuff, and like it doesn't really have anything to do with us,
It's
I'm
tough,
like, I want
man.
to stay out.
Well, yeah, it's tough. There's a
It
lot
is
of factors that go into that, you know?
Yeah.
Like World War, what does that mean, you know?
Plus, it depends. Do I have a family? Like, what am I willing to risk?
That's true, yeah.
It's all factors. But right now, bet your ass.
I mean, there were times when I didn't want to obey orders because my commander was an idiot, but they weren't like dangerous or illegal, so I did.
They weren't like, kill that baby! And
Yeah.
you're like, it's just a child, sir.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we're gonna do this useless mission. They didn't say it was useless, but I was like, oh, this is gonna accomplish nothing.
Yeah.
But you gotta do it, because somebody up top sent it down the line, and you gotta do it, and it's like, oh, this is dumb, but whatever.
I mean, obviously there's like moments when tensions are high and you're like, everybody's tired and you don't want to do stuff, especially at a private level when like an NCO like tells you something that's unfair or is just abusing power where you're just like, no, you. Luckily, I had really good leaders that I never, would second guess, but there was times where I wanted to be like, this is stupid, I don't want to do this anymore, but at the end of the day, it's just like, it's gonna be over eventually.
Yeah.
I've seen some people do that. I was never one of the guys just because I'm a sheep and I follow and do what I'm told like a good boy. The only thing I would disobey would be like appearance stuff. So I remember overseas, like my squad leader at the time, me and him would butt heads because like I was a little bit of a fashion guy. Yeah, I would wear like headbands and like just because it'd be a cowboy out there. Because all of us cut the sleeves off our shirts and then just took the sleeve and wore them as headbands. They worked perfectly, by the way. And I thought I looked cool as so I'd walk around like that. Plus we're all in civilians with a big beard and I'm like, this is a vibe, son. But my squad leader was like, take that headband off. And me and him would, get into it. And when he wasn't looking, I'd put it back on. And I remember one time he was on the rooftop. I was walking to the gym with a headband on and I go in the gym and like 10 minutes later, the guy that was at the door was like, hey, your sergeant wants to see you. Come stand outside really quick. My sergeant was on the rooftop with a sniper looking right at me so he could see what I was wearing. And I knew exactly what it was for. So I like took the headband off and I stood outside and I was like, and then later I came in, he's like, were you wearing a headband? And I was like, absolutely not. You told me not to wear it, so I'm not wearing it. And then I got out and I was just like, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, being in the Imperium in Warhammer 40K, for those of you guys that don't know, it's a bleak future, man. It's like the year 40,000, basically. And in the grim darkness of the future, there's only war. Like, that's it, man. And like 1 million people a day have to be sacrificed to release enough psychic energy to keep the Emperor of Mankind alive. Like, it's just really dark, man. Like, it's
pretty metal.
I would be a Space Marine, like, because those guys are the elite warriors, but I wouldn't want to be a regular person in the Warhammer 40K universe.
Honestly, stormtroopers are like the most useless.
They're like cannon fodder, man.
Yeah, I mean, they suck like at shooting. They don't hit anybody.
Oh, no.
No one.
Well, they hit like,
hit some people.
One character that needs to die and has a dramatic death, they hit her.
Yeah, so honestly, if I was a stormtrooper, that meant I would immediately be terrible at everything I did. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No.
Nothing.
The closest I ever got to working with tanks, you can check it out. It's on Gameology, Total Recoil. Shelby Bragg, former tank commander. Go check it out.
Yeah, for me, I was never a tanker. I was never near any tankers. The most up-armored vehicle I was ever in and have driven was a Striker.
Yeah, the most up-armored vehicle I ever drove, first it was a Humvee, then it was the MRAPs when they first came out.
So like the strikers, we did a lot of striker stuff, especially my platoon was slotted to go to Iraq, which was like striker territory. That's like you're mobilizing in strikers. But when they deployed, I ended up going to Ranger School. So that was super useless for me to do. But yeah, strikers are pretty cool too. They can have a crow system on it, or you can have a manned gun, mainly a crow. But those are pretty up armored as well. They could take an IED blast for sure. But yeah, never any tanks. I don't really know any people that worked in tanks either.
Also, I guess I could say I had one picture in my mind from my Iraq deployment, and that was a tank. It was kind of dug into its like fighting position, and it was just sitting there. Because like by the time I was in country, like everything was kind of settled down. It wasn't like a moving land war, so there was like no use for tanks there. And I was thinking that job must suck. Just sitting in the tank, hours on end, nothing to do.
Mechanized is terrible. I would hate to do that. Isn't it funny how like when you're in the military, people assume you've done it all?
Right. Yeah. I've flown helicopters, I've driven tanks, I've ridden in submarines. It's like, no. You have your lane. You know, it might have been a cool lane. SF was a cool lane to be in, but doesn't mean I did everything. I did a lot, but I didn't do everything. It was an impulse. I would drive by the recruiter's office every day in Southern California, near where I lived, in Los Angeles, and I just walked in one day. I'm like, maybe I'll do this. 2 weeks later, I left for the Army.
I'm the opposite. There wasn't specifically a moment of history, even though 9/11 was like a significant event, but I was maybe 6 years old when it happened.
Yep.
But I do remember it. You know, I know a lot of patriotic Americans enlisted, but obviously I was 6. But I've always had an interest in the military. I remember like, being 13 years old, I built my own ghillie suit because because I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare for the first time, and I'm like, this is what I want to do.
You had a love for it.
Yeah. And I had an extreme interest, like almost an obsession with guns and military tactics, and I started playing airsoft as a kid and like building up those kits. But the second I turned 17. I enlisted in the Army as a junior in high school, so I was stepped in like a year and a half, almost 2 years before I actually shipped out.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
so that was like my goal.
Your story is much more interesting than mine.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess, hey, it's a story nonetheless, huh?
That's all right. That's my story.
Well, Israel is a tattoo virgin.
No tattoos, folks. There's nothing I ever believed in or wanted on my body that I would get. It'd have to be like a Bible scripture or a cross.
Yeah.
It's super basic.
I'll be honest, my first tattoo ever was Philippians 4:13, and it's because I was really into religion when I was in basic training. I went because it reminded me of my family at home. And they would always say that verse in the beginning, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. And then obviously I had my own vendettas and I deployed, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to be religious. But anyways, that's a personal thing. I got my first tattoo was that, and then my next tattoo was, honestly, it's super funny. I tried to like totally have explanations for everything because I thought like tattoos were super meaningful and whatnot, and I got literally in basic training, we had this mural painted on the floor of one of our things, and it was a sword with a ribbon wrapping around it that said, "Born to fight, trained to kill, ready to die but never will, God bless the infantry." And it got my so hard that I decided to literally tattoo it on my body. And then as I progressed and got through the ranks, I'm like, man, this is pretty stupid. But honestly, it's my story, you know?
Yeah, it's like your story written in ink.
Yeah, and then I just decided, I'm like, you know what? Tattoos don't really have to mean shit. I thought they just looked cool, so then I just started inking my entire body. It got to the point now where I could walk into a studio and like get a dart and like just throw it at a board of flash, and whatever it lands on, I literally will get a tattoo.
Tell them about my favorite one, man. I love that one.
Oh, my Balrog tattoo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really obsessed with Lord of the Rings, so I literally have a Balrog with a flame whip wrapping around my arm. Also named Durin's Bane. It's the one that basically Gandalf fought in the mines of Moria. Super cool. Every city I visit, I'll try to get a tattoo in that city.
Really?
Yeah, so like I have tattoos from California and Washington. I got one from Austin, Texas. I got a American traditional bat head because they have like this time where all the bats like fly around in the bridges, and I'm like, that's pretty metal. But yeah, no, tattoos don't really mean anything, or do they have to mean anything?
Did you do bayonet training in basic?
No.
I did actually. You
did bayonet training?
I did bayonet training, yeah. I went to basic in February of 2005, and they were still doing bayonet training there. Yeah, kill. You get the slash and the stab and stuff like that. I remember actually, I was so aggressive that when the drill sergeant, when the next squad came in to do their lanes, he's like, right, stay back here a little bit. He's like, I want you to do it like this, because there was one guy that like, he's like, kill. I was like, kill. I was like really super aggressive with it. Yeah, and then I licked the blood off of my bayonet. But yeah, we did bayonet training. It was a lot of fun. I think it's one of those things, obviously they've evolved past it, but it's definitely a tradition.
It is. The bayonet is a symbol.
It's a symbol,
It's a symbol of the infantry.
Okay, if I just pick a specific day, I'm gonna try to hold myself accountable because I had a lot of fun in the military. It was Halo school.
Yeah.
It was towards the end. It was in a group at night with oxygen, with combat equipment, strapped to your front. And I was a little worried because I was having trouble flying with the equipment because it's a lot big and bulky and stuff. Instructor comes up to me and he says, listen, you're gonna be the peak of the V that we're flying in. So all you have to do is keep your eye on me and fly forward. So I got to be right at the head of the V. I didn't have to orient myself to anybody else. Yeah, and that's how I did it. And they kept that same formation for the remainder of the jumps that we had. It was just all gravy, man. It was so fun.
All gravy.
There's nothing quite like doing a skydive and jumping into the blackness of night, man.
Now I gotta go get my A license.
Oh, it's so great, man. We gotta do it. Shift fire skydiving coming soon, man.
Yeah, right. Let's go get our A license.
Yeah, let's do it.
For me, it's not really a day. We did something every year or two. They didn't do it often because sometimes they had to switch it with a thing called EIB, which is Expert Infantry Badge, which is something the infantry just does, which is miserable. But when we're not doing EIB, we're supposed to be doing something called Con Skills. And it's pretty much a 2-week block of period where everybody in your battalion goes to a school. And they had heavy weapons courses. They had advanced rifle, advanced breacher schools. They had razor and quad and mini bike driving courses. And I got put in that one.
Yeah.
So for literally 2 weeks, we would come in. It would be a lake work call. We didn't have to report to our squads in the morning. I would go straight to the motor pool and then get in an M-Razor, those side-by-side ones. And we would just go to the on-base ATV park and literally just rip for 6-7 hours and then go home and do it all for 2 weeks straight. And at the end, we did a little mini hit on the M-Razors and the quads, and it was just super high speed. Those things move at 88 miles an hour. So you'd be going down a dirt road just flying.
Going through
and
time.
you come in really fast because they're not up armored, so what do you do if you take contact in an M-Razor? Well, you smash the gas pedal and you just whiz out of there. So that was probably the funnest 2 weeks I had in regiment, was just doing that course. It was just super chill, it was big boy rules. Yeah, it was awesome. I don't think there's any time period in my mind that I'm like, wow, I'm glad I learned how to step left and then step right.
It's one of those things like in a movie, there's the setup, a piece of information, and then in the third act it ends up being really important. There's nothing about my military experience where I can say that.
Yeah, no.
I never really appreciated land navigation. Now it saved my life. Because I actually did like
super
land
fun.
Super useful too. Orienteering and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, land nav is one of my favorite things to do. It makes you feel really good, especially being alone in nature. You should do that. Go outside after this video and just be in nature for a little bit.
Stop watching YouTube videos, man.
Exactly.
Except for ours, please. So is that the long way of saying no to your question? No, there's nothing that I learned that I thought was dumb that later on ended up being cool.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
The things that were dumb are still dumb. The things that are cool are still cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Okay. It's interesting. So, beret wearing 101, right? I'll be honest. I went to Commandos and I bought the pre-shaped beret and it was perfect. If you look into the beret, the history of the beret, started out with the black berets and the green berets, and Big Army's we want berets too. So then black beret used to be a Ranger only thing.
Oh, black beret used to be
beret
Ranger.
meant, in Vietnam, was only Rangers wore black berets.
Okay.
And then you had the green berets as well.
Yeah, from SAS, from the British forces,
Yeah, so, and then basically the Big Army wanted it, so they went to the black berets and then we transferred to the tan beret. But yeah, no, I bought mine from Commandos. It was pre-shaped. With berets though, to a true shape and form, it takes a lot of work. You get a razor, and then if you want to cut out a little of the cardboard mold, because the beret they give you in basic training, that's the one you actually have to shape.
Yeah, behind the flash, there's a big, broad piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
And one of the things you do is you cut that down to just the shape of the flash. You can mold
exactly.
it
And then you mold it, and you have to make sure it's wet, and you gotta shave it, and you gotta shave the braids, otherwise it looks funny and it looks like a pastry chef hat.
Yeah, it's nice and poofy. So I remember in basic with our black berets, we'd wet them down, and we'd shave off a little bit and
then mold it.
You put it on your head and you get it real tight, or snug, I guess, and then you wear it around. That's the best part. I actually like it. I like it fitting directly over the left eye. That's my perfect thing. And then having it just be form fitting, because I've watched movies and stuff where
the berets look like absolute dogs.
They look like chef hats. They're
Yeah,
so
no, that's
goofy.
so-
I'm like,
so
oh,
wrong.
you guys didn't do any research.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Interrogating Kim and Izzy. If we didn't answer your question, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below.
Folks, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay up with the latest and greatest with Shift Fire content.
Thanks, folks. We'll catch you on the next one.
Really
You're
super aggressive with it. Yeah, then I licked the blood off of my bayonet.
And I knew exactly what it was for, so I like took the headband off and I stood outside and I was like,